and not understanding his own team. The New York Mets take advantage of the Brewer faux pas. They win game one, but I need to apologize to somebody. It's very important.
Who would that be?
That person is Luis Severino. Luis Severino has been maligned in this town for way too long. He's been maligned in this town as a guy that comes up small in the biggest of spots. He got maligned by even me the other day.
Yeah.
Because
yesterday you were maligning him.
Was that yesterday?
Yes, it was.
Well,
You gave him a pretty pedestrian accomplishment that he needed to hit, and it wasn't good enough for you. 5 innings, 3 hits. Would you take that? I said, yeah, that'd be great. You said, no. 6 innings, 4 runs.
Did I say it like that? I said it like, nah.
Sort of. Kind of.
Kind of.
Maybe I'm exaggerating.
You know what, Severino?
That's what it felt like you said.
Maybe it did. I was anxious. I mean, it was right before a playoff game, the first playoff game in 2 years, the first playoff game I was watching on TV in 9 years. But I think what Luis Severino reminded you yesterday is that sometimes pitching lines, we could sit here today and talk about pitching lines.
Mm-hmm.
I take this, I take that. Sometimes it's about how you do it. And I thought what Luis Severino did yesterday, late afternoon, early evening, was show balls of stones. There was a chance he was going to get knocked out in the first inning.
Yes.
The Brewers had the bases loaded and 1 out. And after he hit Rhys Hoskins to give him a second run, he was able to get through the inning without it getting ugly. Then the Mets gave him a lead, and he pitched through trouble in the second and the third. And then he pitched into more trouble in the fourth, where unfortunately he gave back the lead.
Mm-hmm.
I was annoyed about that. The Mets then rallied. They scored a bunch of runs in the fifth inning. And this is the difference between pitchers who know how to pitch in the postseason and those that don't. I am still bitter to no end about Tommy Glavine in Game 5 of the 06 NLCS when the Mets gave him a lead, and Tommy couldn't wait to flush it. Luis Severino was given a lead last night in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and his response was bing, 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 1, 2, 3. Bing, 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 1, 2, 3. Severino shut down the Brewers when the Mets needed him the most because they needed innings out of him. He needed to lock down after being given a lead. And so 6 innings, 4 runs is never pretty. That's actually an ERA of 6, and no one's suggesting that's great. But I think when you look at the lockdown, shutdown innings that he delivered last night and the way he was able to battle in and out of trouble, Luis Severino grew up right before our eyes.
Yeah.
He needed queens.
You didn't have faith in him, even though Sean and I did. The bigger issue for me is you thought the issue with Luis Severino not being able to, have under 2 or 3 runs.
Yeah.
Was that the Mets wouldn't score.
I said that?
Yes, that's what you were terrified of.
Well,
but don't you know you have a oh my God on your team?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Iglesias?
Infield hit.
Infield hit, diving head first, even though it's not what you should do because it slows you down, but it doesn't matter. You got there in time.
You know what the Mets did, though, that in relation to this? So Freddie Peralta had a really good year. It's working, Tiki. I appreciate it. I'm good to go. I had a computer issue, and he saw me try to fix it. And like a good partner, he's like, all right, Evan's talking. I'll try to fix this issue. I'm all good. I got it all figured out. Freddie Peralta was very typical of an ace yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a great first inning. He had 1 bad inning in the second inning. And I want to make this very, very clear. You want to rip Pete Alonso, wait until it's fair to rip Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso in the second inning with a runner on first and nobody out with the Mets down 2 runs worked a walk against Freddie Peralta. It's one of the most important at-bats of the game. That may sound like crazy over the top. It is. That set up the Jesse Winker bases clearing triple. So I get it. Pete's got to deliver in a big spot. Pete's got to drive in runs. I'm with you. I'll be with you. But last night, not the night to pick on Pete Alonso.
Right. I'm not even worried about Pete Alonso.
Good. I just want to make that clear before anyone calls up today and rips my guy.
I'm excited that the Mets have role players, that they have those guys that aren't superstars.
That's right.
They may not be here in 2 years, but for right now, they're absolutely necessary.
It's kind of like a crazy Saturday night. I may not be with her next year, but I'm going to have a fun night tonight.
Exactly.
But what the Mets did last night that was so exciting and gives me hope moving forward is they took advantage of mistakes. The Milwaukee Brewers made a couple of mistakes. Not our problem that they made mistakes,
right?
But what is our joy is when you take advantage of it. So Freddie Peralta walks Pete Alonso, puts the first 2 guys on base. He made a mistake to Jesse Winker. Pat Murphy made a mistake. He took his ace out after 68 pitches and 4 innings in which he had settled down and retired 9 in a row. Pat Murphy, the manager of the Brewers, had no idea that Freddie Peralta retired 9 in a row. But I did, but you did, but everyone watching did. But their manager, first year as a major league skipper, remember, he took over for Craig Counsell, choked in a big moment. And so he went to one of his top-end relievers, and the Mets took advantage of the fact
who hadn't given up an earned run since August?
Yeah, Joel Payamps has been great. But the Mets took advantage of that situation. They said, oh, okay, you want to take your ace out in the 5th inning? Cool, take advantage of it. Jose Iglesias took advantage of something, too. Joel Payamps, not as obvious as Edwin Diaz, hesitated off the mound. Jose Iglesias hit a rocket ship to first base. That bastard Rhys Hoskins made a great defensive play. And he who hesitates doesn't eat dinner. And Joel Payamps hesitated. And if you hesitate against Mr. Infield Single, he's going to make you pay. And because of that tiny little mistake, that brief hesitation, that was an infield hit. Tyrone Taylor took advantage of it. He scored from second. And then what happened after that? Infield hit Brandon Nimmo. Big base hit by Mark Vientos on the first pitch. I thought he was the star of the game yesterday. And then J.D. Martinez takes advantage of the fact that Pat Murphy has no idea that Carlos Mendoza's got a weapon named J.D. on his bench who's going to pitch hit for Jesse Winker against the lefty, and he comes through. The Mets said to the Milwaukee Brewers, and hopefully it's a message to everyone else, you make a mistake, we're going to take advantage. And that's what the Mets did throughout this game. The Brewers made mistakes, and the Mets busted right through, and now they are 1 win away from a place they haven't been in 9 years, the divisional series.
How exciting is that for you? I mean, obviously, I could hear it in your voice. You're counting the victory already.
No.
Counting it already.
When has that happened?
Never, but I feel it in your voice.
No.
Because there's always a negativity that comes in your voice at some point, Evan. And maybe that's going to happen, I don't know, at 5:30 this afternoon.
Yeah, we get closer to
first pitch. And you start worrying about all the other things that could go wrong as opposed to all the things that went right yesterday. But my biggest takeaway from this game is that it's not the stars. Lindor didn't have a hit. He scored a run. He didn't have a hit in this game. It was Tyrone Taylor. It was Jesse Winker, right? It was Iglesias. It was all of those guys who were the catalyst for the Mets' victory.
No,
and when those guys are winning the games that when your stars aren't playing, it just makes you feel like anything is possible.
It's a great point. The core members of the New York Mets, Francisco Lindor was 0 for 3 with a walk. Brandon Nimmo did have that big infield hit against the lefty, Aaron Ashby. I don't want to minimize it, but he was 1 for 4. Pete Alonso was only 0 for 1 because he walked 3 times. And Starling Marte was 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly. They didn't get a lot of production from the core guys.
Alvarez as well.
But you're right. They got the key moments, the key plays, and the big hits from guys like Jesse Winker, from J.D. Martinez off the bench, from Jose Iglesias, and certainly from Mark Vientos. It was a very encouraging Game 1 victory. And what I'm about to say should not be construed as negativity. I want to now be honest, because what we just talked about was last night. And last night was great, but last night is over. It's 2:10 in the afternoon. We've all enjoyed the victory. We're all excited. We're all happy. But now it's on to the next. And on to the next is closing out the Brewers tonight, and they need to close out the Brewers tonight.
Why?
Let me explain to you why. The Milwaukee Brewers, let me take you into the Brewers because I think this is important. They pressed last night. And you want to know why they pressed last night? Because a year ago, the Milwaukee Brewers hosted the Wild Card Series at home against an Arizona Diamondback team that barely made the playoffs. And the Milwaukee Brewers choked. They lost. And most of the guys there, including Pat Murphy, who was on the bench next to Craig Counsell, remembers that. They all remember that. And I think when this game started, there was like an excitement. Like, we won 93 games. This team's better than last year. We're going to erase our bad memories. And I know no one cares about the Brewers, but trust me, this story matters. It's relevant to us. So they started last night with a little pep in their step. This is different. They scored 2 runs in the first inning. This is different. And then they got punched in the face. And to the Brewers' credit, right, they responded. They retook the lead in the 4th inning. And then when their manager, who's been there for a while, Pat Murphy, not his manager, but he was on the bench next to Craig Counsell, when he made the fatal mistake of taking his ace out and the Mets responded by dropping a steel chair on their faces and it became 8-4 Mets, you could see it. Oh, I smell it. And I can see it, and we all can see it. You know why we can see it? We lived it. We've seen teams press. We've seen teams know, this isn't happening again. We all sat through 2007. We sat through 2008. We've sat through when a team knows, oh, my God, yeah, no pun intended, it's happening again. And so why tonight is so important. Yes, the Mets have the safety net of tomorrow. Don't give them belief. This is a team that believes it's happening to them again. The Brewers believe, oh, my God, we're literally going to lose at home again. Oh, my God. I'm not even doing it on purpose.
It just comes out that way.
It's the opposite. Like the Brewers, and here's the proof of this. When the Mets punched them in the face in the top of the 5th inning, let's play a game. I'll play a little trivia question game. I got my scorebook in front of me. You don't, that's fine.
Go ahead.
How many base runners did the Brewers get after the bottom of the 5th inning started?
I'm going to say 2.
You go with 2. That's a good guess. Hey, Sean, you want to guess?
None.
Thank you, Sean. 0. Luis Severino, 2 perfect innings. Jose Butto, and yes, I love Big Buto, and I cannot lie. 2 scoreless innings. Ryan Stanek, 1, 2, 3. The Milwaukee Brewers look like a team that knew it. They look like a team that felt it. And it is imperative for the New York Mets in 5 hours to remind them who they are. Because if you give them belief, if you let them off the mat, then game 3 becomes a crapshoot. I put my hands up and say, I don't know what's going to happen. It's baseball. Don't let them off the mat. That was a beaten team last night. That was a dead team last night. Even, what's her name behind the plate? Front row Amy. Front row Amy and I, we know each other. We know the deal, front row. Let me say something about front row. I got respect for front row. Front row loves to score games. But I know that front row doesn't call balls and strikes in her scorebook. Front row, I know that you don't.
How do you know this?
Oh, I know.
She's not busy enough while at the game?
That's right.
You can see it.
She's too busy positioning herself.
Yeah.
Front row, Amy, I respect you, but you're going down today.
She's going outs and on bases? That's it?
That's it. She's just doing singles and doubles.
Oh, that's lazy.
That's my trash talk, by the way.
That's lazy.
I love front row Amy. I have great respect for her. Anyone who sits there.
You don't? Clearly you don't.
I
You're
just
knocking her for not keeping a proper book.
You know what this is? I'm Jesse Winker and she's Willie Adamas, okay?
Well,
I'm the scoring Met guy. She's the scoring Brewer woman.
What's happening in the parking lot then?
a lot of bratwurst. She also does it with a pencil, Ev. So
Yeah, you know what that shows? Weakness. It shows
Lack
that
of
you
attention.
believe you're going to screw up, so you need an eraser.
Attention to detail.
See this pen I got, Teak?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I make a mistake. I either live with it or I whip out the whiteout. What does front row Amy do? Uses her dopey little pencil. But even front row Amy knows, she can sniff it too. We all can sniff it. That's a baseball team that's scared.
Yeah.
And it is very important for Sean Manaea and this Met offense to finish the job. If we're sitting here before a game 3, I'll admit it, I will be very worried.
You know,
don't let them off the mat.
You know what you need to do, Evan? You need to send it front row Amy a zebra pen.
You think so?
And see if she responds by working every ball, strike, out, hit, error, etc.
Yeah.
Don't need a non-finished book. Use the zebra pen.
That's right. You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to send her a parting gift after the Mets eliminate her. Hopefully they do. And that's the zebra pen.
Hey, dear, for next year.
And you know, the truth is, even if the Brewers come back and win this series, I'll still send her a zebra pen because I'll be rooting for the Brewers to knock off the Phillies. But tonight is really, really, really important. This is not house money. This is finishing the job. I believe if you let them off the mat, tomorrow night becomes a coin flip. I don't want to deal with a coin flip, TV.
I agree with you. You can't let chance come into play.
No.
And by chance, I mean a bad outing by whoever's on the mound or a bad day by your stars or whatever it may be. The good thing is for tonight is Frankie Montas is on the mound. And even though he was okay for a lot of the season, this last month hasn't been fantastic.
I admit, I don't watch the Brewers every day. I am a baseball geek. Some may say I like baseball. But I cannot understand how Pat Murphy is starting Frankie Montas. And I hope I don't regret to say that because he could go out and throw 6 scoreless innings tonight. But Aaron Savali, who came out of the bullpen yesterday, I expected him. Tobias Myers, who I guess would pitch game 3, I expect him. I don't expect Frankie Montas. And the Mets touched on him a couple days ago when the Mets faced the Brewers not too long ago. This lineup needs to perform. And I think it's really important to jump on them early because if you believe what I'm saying, if you smelled what I smelled last night from the Brewers once they went down 8-4, you really have to keep it on because you don't want to give them any hope.
Right. It's the proverbial neck on the foot on the neck.
Absolutely.
Right. Don't let them up.
Because I do think confidence plays a big part of this. The Mets are on a high right now. The Mets won the greatest regular season game in the history of the franchise. They made the playoffs on a high. And they built off of that with what they were able to accomplish, taking advantage of Brewer mistakes and getting Freddie Peralta out of the game after 4 innings and getting big hits. And they responded that way. And right now there's a belief among the New York Mets. That belief doesn't exist with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Right.
Tonight, they have to finish the job.
In fairness, they didn't get Peralta out of the game. It was the skip who got him out of the game.
Well, look, however you want to dice it, Murphy's explanation was so bad.
Of course
that
it was. He had to parse it somehow.
He's like, there was hard contact against him. Well, you know what? If it was hard contact against him, then the Mets did get him out of the game.
That was an analytic decision that will get you beat in the postseason.
I agree.
I'm not going third time through the lineup.
And it is amazing to me that Carlos Mendoza managed his first postseason game yesterday. So did Pat Murphy, in fairness. Like, he is a rookie manager, even though he's really old. He's a rookie manager. But Carlos Mendoza was prepared. And Carlos Mendoza didn't blink.
Right.
Pat Murphy was blinking like he was a 12-year-old talking to a girl for the very first time. He was blinking all over the place. Mendy trusted his starting pitcher. Pat Murphy didn't. And those results led to the Mets being up 1-0 and being 1 win away from going to a place they have not been in 9 years, and that is the National League Divisional Series. Your calls coming up. 888-808-1019. A lot of Jets to get to, a lot of Yankees to get to, but obviously the Mets a big story as they will look to close out the Brewers in about 5 hours. Plus, Jesse Winker and Willie Adames were going at it, and I have a confession that I have to give all of you on how I consumed last night's Mets game, and it may have been my darkest, most saddest moment. We are live from the Town Fair Tire Studios, powered by Town Fair Tire. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody.